Greetings of peace and prosperity. This is my journal entry on the month of April. We started on Lesson 2 in Module 3 on the month of April and ended on Lesson 8, Module 3. I have two lessons that left a big impact on me. First is the lesson where the April started, which is under understanding conflict and violence, which is the Lesson 2, Conflict versus Violence. The objectives of this lesson is to differentiate the difference between conflict and violence. Also, to understand that conflict does not always resort to violence. All of these objectives is the same on what I have learned. First is the difference between conflict and violence. From my previous essay, I have said that whenever I hear the word conflict, is that the first thing that comes to my mind is a problem, or worse, even physically and verbally. Where in fact, one of the meaning of conflict is either a misunderstanding with someone or even within yourself. I have learned that conflict can happen within only the self and not including anyone. That put me into enlightenment that conflict is not just about the situation that we saw in the eyes, but also only within the self. While on the other hand, violence is the manifestation of the conflict. Conflict can be solved immediately and not turn into worse, which leads to violence. This lesson taught me about the strategies on how we can immediately address the conflict to avoid violence. I have been thinking about this, and truly this can be effective if we include and apply it in real life. Aside from this lesson left a big impact on me because conflict has its benefits also, if handled carefully. That idea amazes me because it is such a learning that we can share to others. That is also how I could apply it in real life, wherein conflict and violence is two different things. Conflict should be avoided and handled critically to avoid violence. The next lesson that left a big impact on me on the previous discussions is the Lesson 6, which is the conflict tree analysis. This left a big impact on me because it emphasizes the importance of identifying the cause, effect, and core of a problem. Before the problem, there should be a total root of where it came from. In this generation, we often jump in conclusion without even analyzing what is really happening in the first place. We are surrounded by fake news due to the continuous evolving of the social media that really change our attitude of seeing things, and that includes me. This lesson tells us that conflict should be addressed based on what really did occur in the first place. This is through asking the questions, what is the reason behind, or why did this occur, and the impact of the conflict, may it be a person or resources. This shows us to be critical thinker, not irrational, because on my experience, or based on my experience, We cannot think properly whenever we hear a conflict and just listen to what is really happening, but not its reason. People like us aren't perfect. We cannot avoid these situations. But through this conflict tree, we should consider trying to analyze first the problem before concluding. I can apply this in real life through embodying the patience and understanding, because handling a conflict isn't easy. We always think irrationally, especially when we are at the influence of our emotions, and that shouldn't be tolerated. Just like the conflict tree, knowing first the details makes us consider things that might enlighten us on the positive side. The activity that left a big impact on me on the previous activities that we did in our class is the one where we share our own kind of volcanoes and identify our recent conflict and put it in that volcano. During the activity, explaining my volcano feels embarrassing for me, especially on the part that I've said the things that could have been talked about with the one I have conflict with, to avoid the things that we are arguing. That is what we call regret, because it's because of what could have been if we didn't think impulsively, just because we are trying to prove a point. Getting mad is really a strong emotion that we shouldn't practice. Although sometimes it feels valid to feel mad or to feel angry about something, but the truth is, it makes us do things that sometimes unacceptable and disrespectful for anyone. This lesson taught me that when we say things, we cannot really This taught me that whenever we do things or whenever we say words that hurt someone, is we cannot take it back. Even though kahit naayos pa kayo or kahit sinabi pa niyang napatawad ka niya, but maybe deep inside is that daladala niya yun in the future. So this lesson is that I can apply it in real life through integrating and weighing things and saying, if I said this or if I do this, then what is the consequences? That question should be asked whenever having a conflict. Also, to think rationally and analyze the problem to address it. To address it, we should be calm and not impulsive. Just like the volcano, we feel like bursting when we are angry, and I think we should avoid it. And even though this phrase is already been used, but really communication is the key on everything, because it makes us think deeper of the problem and analyze things if it is worth it to do, and if it is beneficial in the future. Regarding on the deeds that I can commit to avoid causes of conflict. Through that question, or I answered that on the previous activity, which is I answered that I can commit, or the deed that I can commit is to be more understanding on things and to avoid being one-sided. Committing this helps me see where people came from, or what is the cause why they act like that, or the way they react on things. In situation that we are at the process of getting ourselves in conflict, we can be a bigger person, or we can be the bigger person in our ways, and that is being understanding or being patient whenever we are internalizing or we are in the verge of getting into conflict. I can say that they say that change should start within ourselves, and that is true. I have proven it myself because I have experienced things that made me prove it. Change should start within ourselves. That is what I have realized in this activity, or in this question that we have answered on the previous activities.